right, check it in. Current state. Got a bunch of these parts done. They're hung on the car just for storage, get them off of each other. Running out of space as this gets closer to the finish line. Got most of these done. Still got to do the unibody, storing parts here. Doing much better now than I was in the last video with the help of this little heater right here, this propane heater. Been able to manage the heat and throttle that accordingly and getting good results out of the paint. The hood turned out really well. Can't say the same for the hardtop, and I'll get to that in a minute. I wanted to take a minute and document this nose. It's got an incredible amount of time in it. I just wanted to document it while I remember all the bits and pieces and how it went together. Started out as a racing beat Type 2, had 4 holes, 4 of these intake holes that had another here, which I was never a fan of. So smoothed that out, got rid of that. Opened up this mouth, which I am a big fan of, like a proper sports car. It's not flat on top. All of the Miata noses have to accommodate the crash bar. Of course, fiberglass doesn't need that, so I was able to cut that up. And man, I'm a big fan. I'm just a big fan. That adds to the vintage vibe for me. The other big change, the big factor, time killer in this, were these spats. And this doesn't give any indication of it, but this nose had to get about 2.5 inches wider to accommodate the flare. And what this is the assembly of 3 different pieces. The original nose here, and then a piece I fabricated here, and then a corner of the piece that they sent that they intended you to fasten to the stock nose, which is not the same shape as this. The stock nose curls under, so this piece was no good down here. So had to make changes here and get all this to work together. And that was kind of a war. I'm not a big fiberglass fan, but it worked out okay. Got rid of the marker lights and just left a little bit of foam. I just encapsulated it. It's there forever. I'll paint it black. But I packed all that with foam where it needed to be, and because at the time I left this cup here. And I grafted this guy on, grafted that guy on. Got all this to be basically the right shape, and then sanded the outside. Got it pretty close, 80% of the way anyway. And then you have to fix this, which is where it meets the, of course it mates to the fender right there. But with these flares, let me switch hands here. This is where the clearance had to be made for the wheel and tire to pass through. It's got to go right through here. So the easy button, I was going to make a thing and lean it back in here and all this. What I elected to do was just taper this down where it didn't have any contact. And then I just layered this up and made this super thick. And got a little gap. It's not a gap, it's a step that needs to be sanded off. But anyway, this is much, much thicker and can survive like it is. Did the same thing on the back side where we cut this out, because where this came through, it turned in, and that gave this strength. So this is probably 4 times as thick as what it was. I just laid several layers on there and soaked it in real good. This is fine like it is. Won't have any more issue with that. Anyway, getting close. Next step on this guy is, I just did the 180. I did a filler prime on it last night, and I did the block sanded at 180 tonight. And it's pretty close. It's very close. And the next move will be the tracer coat, and then I'll go after it with 320. And once it has passed the tracer coat test, and that's going to show all kinds of stuff, I'll be sanding tomorrow night and the next night, probably Thursday and Friday. But maybe by Saturday it'll be ready to seal and paint. And once that guy is done, we are downhill. We're downhill running. Would have had the hardtop finished last weekend, except had one problem. Get up close here. There you go. You can see where it's lifted. This is the white sealer that I wish I had used, but it was a day late, dollar short. This top was painted diamond blue during the color qualification process. And I thought because it was the same kind of paint that it would be okay. And I was just going to cheat it out. I was out of sealer at the time. And I thought, no problem. Prepped it. It was completely ready to go. Had the temp in the booth just right. Everything was a-okay. Paint went down just great. And it didn't look so good as it dried. And I thought, well, maybe I can save it with sealer. So I just scotch padded the thing back off and put this white sealer on it. And it didn't. It just lifted more, is what I showed you over there. So all of this has to come off. I'm going to sand it down, get the air file after it. And I'll take it all back down. And it'll probably take about 2 hours, maybe 3, to do it right. And then I'll bring it back up through the same process with the 180, the tracer coat, and then the 320. And hopefully it gets painted this weekend. If those two things happen, then we can focus on setting the paint booth up. This will have to become something different than what it is to get the unibody rolled in and get it up, and we'll be ready to do the fenders. I'm hoping we get enough weather over the weekend, decent weather, that I can block these outside. And I don't want to have to do this inside. It won't fit in the dirty booth, and I'm not doing it in here. It's just got to happen outside. Anyway, that's where I'm at. Wanted to put a stake in that. Talk to y'all.